Peter, as he hears the instructions, may see nothing different. It's the same old, same old. Try obeying and allow Jesus to show you the miraculous things that he has in store. Wellington once gave a command to one of his generals. The general answered that it was impossible to execute the command. Wellington told him, "You go ahead and do it, because I don't give commands that are impossible." When Jesus Christ gives you a command, you don't need to tell him it's impossible to do. You just need to do it. Amen. Because Jesus doesn't give impossible commands. What may be too much for our brain to compute, that blows our mind, is nothing for Jesus Christ to execute. We can trudge all night long looking for fish, using our own abilities to catch them and not catch a thing. But when we follow the commands of Jesus, prepare for the nets to be full. Amen. Philippians 4:13 says that I am able to do all things through him who strengthens me. Do you believe that?
Yes. Amen.
Do you believe that this is a God-fearing, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing church?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you believe that God has work for this church to do?
Yes.
Do you believe it's out there?
Yes.
Then we will have a successful year following God's vision. The key to evangelism is in verse 6. Don't miss it. Look at verse 6. After he said, let down the nets, when they did this, they caught a great number of fish, and the nets began to tear. The key to evangelism is simply just following Jesus' instructions, and you will be successful. Now, I did not say follow Jesus' instructions and believe them completely and have absolutely no doubt, because that's going to happen when he tells you to cast out into the deep. Peter had doubt. Peter used some excuses. But the key is to follow Jesus' instructions, and you will be successful. Amen?
Amen.
Jesus reveals his objectives to those who release their security. Once again, Jesus reveals his objectives to those who release their security. And that really, truly makes sense. There's no reason for Jesus to reveal his objectives of his vision for the ministry that he has if you're not willing to shut off to complete it. Why should he even tell you if you're not willing to do it? That's a waste of time. Look at verse 10. I guess we're going to go up.
9.
No. We're going to go 10. Who said that? You were wrong. We were going with 10. And so were James and John, Zebedee's partners, who were Simon's partners. But you know what? You were paying attention. That's great. Don't be afraid, Jesus told Simon. From now on, you will be catching people. He revealed to them what he had in store for his vision for them. That they were going to be catching people. And the reason that he told them that, you'll find, go on down. We're going to 11 now, just in case whoever's following. Then they brought the boats to land, left everything, and followed him. They were willing to leave everything behind the nets, the boats, their way of life. And because that they're willing to obey and leave the safety of their ordinary life, God revealed to them that they were going to work in the ministry. Some people say, well, you know what? God, this doesn't speak to me. It's probably because you're not willing to obey. You're not willing to give over to Him, to leave the safety of your routine or to leave the safety of your life, to sacrifice and to follow Christ. And because you're not willing to do that, there's no reason for Him to expose you to what could have been. You want to hear God? Then be someone that diligently seeks Him. Be someone that is willing to step out on faith and follow His commands. And yes, you're going to have doubts sometimes. And yes, you're going to experience fear sometimes. You wouldn't be human if you didn't. But the important thing to the key is that you follow His commands. Allow Him to do everything else. Peter left everything. No hesitations, no reservations, no conditions. Let me just say this. If you go out there and evangelize, you push off into the deep and you're following God and you're doing the decisions they're making, every time that you put down a net, you're not going to catch things. Not every time. Nor did the disciples, as a matter of fact. But I do know this. You won't catch a thing, for sure, if you're not willing to go out and put your nets into the water. You're not going to change a city by setting it here. You're not going to change the hearts of people and a state and a country and a world by setting it here. We need to throw out the nets and follow our God. We learned this lesson today. You ready? Okay. Just checking. I know my voice is not where it needs to be. When God's hand is on a situation, we learn that nets break. We learn that eyes will bulge. We learn that boats lean. We learn that death flees. And we learn that hearts change. I want to experience what God has for me. I can't think of anything more pleasing than to watch God work. So I'm willing to push out into the deep with the vision that God has given us for next year. Do we have the finances for it? Probably not. Do we have the people for it? That's up to you. But I do know this. We have a God in command that has the power for it.
Amen.
And He has the supplies that we need. Right? And if we're willing to follow, He's going to do it. So I need you to get on board. I need you to get ready. Because once we get this vision completed, and we get the situation set up, we want to plan it out. Here's the way I believe it works. God uses His leadership, His eldership, and gives them the vision. The eldership better be praying a long time before that. And then they work it out through God's wisdom. And then they deliver that to you all. And then you all say, we're going to pray. And when God gives you that same feeling, then He's going to want you to push out into the deep and see where your part lies in this vision. Because people need to hear Jesus. And we need to tell them. Amen?
Amen.
So be ready. Be willing. And God is always able Bow your heads with me if you would. If you're here today and you don't know Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, you can change that. Revelation 3:20 says, "Behold, I stand at the door and I knock. For all those that will open the door, I will come in and sup with them," meaning that he will spend his life with them.